Hello and welcome to the February update from Dean Park. Lots of things been going on this month, lots of jobs around the layout and progression on certain scenic items. I've also got some running sessions for you as well as some shout out for other channels. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers. Work continues apace on the signal and telecommunications area. This is taking longer than I thought it would do actually, because I've had lots of decisions to make regarding scenic material and bits had to be done in certain order before I did the fitting down of the board, which is fitted in place now. So it's kind of taking a bit longer unfortunately, but I hope it'll be worth it in the end. First off, I've got the lamp posts in place there. These are Kite's lights. They come with adjustable bases so you can set the height, and all I did was fix the height, mask the heads, primed the pole, etc., and sprayed them in Umbro acrylic 64, which is a light grey colour. Then I put them in position on the layout, and they've all been wired up, and all the wires at the moment come out there. They will go into the main 12 volt lighting bus wire under the layout, which controls all the lights from the station, the caravan park, into here. I'm going to control it all with one switch just for ease of use. And at the end of the day, when it's dark on one part of the layout, it's dark on all parts of the layout, so all the lights have to come on anyway. I've also got two depot lights here. These are express model items. They were £6.95 each or something, and these are LEDs and they're wired in as well, and that will light up the test track area for twilight working. The big decision that I've made, if you followed me on my Facebook page, was what shade of gravel to use for the area surrounding the paving and the test track. This is a Geoscenic's iron ore ballast in fine scale. It's N scale stuff. I wanted to replicate the smallest chips I could. When you get the Geoscenic stuff, it is natural product, and you really have to rinse it to get all the muck and the colouring out of it. If you don't and then you use it, it tends to bleed the colour everywhere. But when you do wash it in cold water, rinse it, I just rinse it in an ice cream tub 4 or 5 times to get till the water ran clear, and then I put it on a plate with tin foil and stuck it in the oven for 2 or 3 hours at 50 degrees just to slowly dry it out, and it dried back into normal ballast again, so it was ready to use. And when I put it on the layout, sprinkled it down on some PVA and then sealed it in place with some Woodland Scenic cement, and no dye has come out of it at all. It's a total natural product, and I think once I rinsed it, you could probably see the different tones in the stones there. It certainly it looks the part as the red chips you'd have in your driveway, which is what I've tried to simulate. I've red chipped the areas where the workers and the students, if you like, would be accessing, so the areas around where will be the relay boxes, and obviously to and from the stores, and round the back to the substation entrance as well, which I'll come to shortly. I've also been working on the scenic material roundabout, the gravel. It's taken my usual form of coating it in a green scene yard filth paint, which is a textured paint, which is seen on the kind of back area there, just before the back seam. I let that dry and then coat it in PVA and sprinkle some Woodland Scenic's fine earth and soil blend on it, and then I put some coarse turf on top of that, and then I seal it all in place with some scenic cement. And as you can see there, I've continued it along here, obviously the fall off with the gravel, and there'll be a girder bridge there anyway. I didn't want to take the gravel right up to the edge. It looks like it's just been sprinkled to the minimum places required for the workers to access the equipment. Before I put the gravel down, I did the areas between the track and the gravel area as well, and the same methods as just explained. And then when I put the gravel down, it kind of just sprinkled on and blended in. It's not supposed to be neat. There will be a fence going round there between the track and the training facility, and as you can see there, I've even put some coarse turf on top of the gravel to replicate little weeds and whatnot growing through the gravel, because it's not kept at that area, it's not well worn. This will be treated to some static grass as well, and which I'll show you shortly. But it's all starting to come together. My first shout out this month is to Steve Smith at Thornley TMD. He's got a great depot layout in the making there, especially his local shed, which is absolutely massive and an impressive kind of focal point for the whole of his layout. So nip across to Thornley TMD and check his channel. The substation area is also continuing to grow and develop. The base has been blended in with the scenic material round about it, applied in the same way as I explained in the signal and telecommunications area. I've weathered down the gantry with all the electrical transformer insulators etc. on them, and just to kind of blend it and give it a line side dusting of grime. The fencing and other equipment still to be placed in here yet, as well as the static grass and bushes. Attention in the following clips will turn to this area, which will be given the scenic treatment from the fence of the caravan park to this communications hut here. I'm removing the line side hut. I've got allocated another area on the layout, and there'll be a fenced off area for this telecommunications cabinet, just to give it something in that area before I obviously add in the weeds, the grass, the debris at the line side. There's a limit to what I can put in here without it looking contrived. There would be line side cabinets at most parts of the line side, so I can get away with putting that in there. I'll have to try and tie in the scenic material that I use with the back scene, so I'm doing a bit of chicken and egg here. I put the back scene on to test where it's going to be in order to work out the scenic material. It's kind of a work in progress on that, but again you'll see that in the following clips. I'll also have to ballast the turnouts in order for me to blend the scenic material fully in, as well as weather these, and I'll be working my way along with doing some ballasting towards where I've finished it here to tie in, and then attention will turn to the main line ballasting later on. My next shout out is for Caversham Central. It's a modern image layout with some impressive builds and some good reviews of some of the rolling stock on the market. So if you want to head over there and check out his layout. An area that I've been meaning to address for some time as I work my way around the east end of the layout is the section in front of you here. This has long been my workbench where I do basically everything from my soldering to my kit building to my measuring and drawing and planning, and even where I service my locos, but it was never meant to be like that. It was eventually going to be given the scenic treatment, and now it's kind of its turn to get that. As you can see in front of you is a ply kind of raised base. This is just 9mm exterior ply. It's nice and stable, and I've used my now standard method of putting it on legs, and these legs are 50mm in height. So it's significantly lower than the rest of the raised section. You can probably see that just at the left hand side of the shot there, where the S&T training facility has obviously a wall in front of it, and it's at a higher height. And down round the corner towards the bridge at the station with a level crossing, you can see again it sits at a lower height from the road surface. That's deliberate. That is so when I'm standing where that chair is on the opposite side of the layout, I can still see the trains, and at the same time it still gives it more of a cutting appearance. The gap between the edge of the ply and the cess, which is obviously the area at the side of the ballast, that'll have an embankment put in, or a cutting, and there's going to be maybe another little feature right in the middle there where the siding comes to an end. I'm not quite sure about that yet, so I'll just not bother telling you too much about it. And it curves round the corner towards the level crossing and bridge. Again, that'll have a gentle cutting with overgrown weeds and whatnot. The top section will be an industrial area, possibly a post office sorting office, certainly a British Rail depot with the yellow trucks, and a builder's merchants as well. If you look at scale model scenery, every week Justin seems to bring out a new kit to entice me into doing a builder's yard with all these bits and pieces that you require for a building site. And that will tie in nicely with the building site which is in shot now, which will have given the scenic treatment when the Oxford release their original JCBs. I'm waiting to get them on the market before I plan the scenic area of the building site, which seems to have taken a while for these houses to get a roof on them, and it's still not happening. So that'll be addressed in hopefully the spring when the Oxford die-cast JCB is released. I'll go around the other side and show you a small feature that I've incorporated into this raised area. Okay, as you can see, the raised section is there. There is a gap between the edge of the legs and the edge of the wood. That is 6mm to allow a ply facing to go on there, which will remain nice and flush with the surface. So that's going to go on there, and at the other side. I've added a feature in here, as I said to you in my last clip, this is my kind of workbench, and I still like to do a bit of work here. So what I've done is I've incorporated a kind of slide out tray, so I can do a wee bit of work on the layout, possibly service locos, etc., while sitting watching the trains go by. So that's just again a bit of ply, and I've routed a groove out of there to allow it to slide in and out. It's not ideal. It won't be the only place I continue to do scenic work. I'll go to the other end of the layout, or perhaps get a smaller table in here, but it will be a useful little addition. Start to incorporate some more detail into the training track here, and you'll notice that I've put a signal in. It's a ground 2-aspect signal, and it's from CR Signals. They've got an excellent range and they're good value for money, and they're made from brass with LEDs. Now I've added in obviously the ramp, EWS ramp, the point motor, the point heater. I've got the drain there, but this particular one is actually an operating signal. If I put it on, it's obviously shining green just now, and I'm going to have down to the right hand side here, I'm going to have a small switch panel, and just an on to flick it between red and green. Just manually. I was going to do it automated, but it's, you know, it's the amount of wiring I have to put under and in a small area, plus the track directly underneath. I can't have too much in the way of point motors and all that kind of stuff, because it would get in the way of the roofs of the train. So I've just put a small on toggle switch there, and that'll allow it to flick between the green and the red, just to simulate for when the workers are on site, and maybe, you know, reprogramming it at a relay box or something like that. What you can see I've done here is I've continued the ballasting and the weathering of the track to the mouth of the traction maintenance depot, and that goes all the way back when the two turnouts and the old ballasting stopped there, so I've put the new stuff in and weathered it down. That took about a week in itself to get all that process done, from placing the ballast, gluing the ballast, letting it dry, and then working with the rail match paints, first of all sleeper grime and then roof dirt just to tone it down. Then I let that dry for another 24 hours before I cleaned the top of the rails with the Pico track rubber. So that is now starting to blend in with the main line, which has been ballasted for some time, but all the ballasting now stops in the same place, and that allows me to tie in the scenic part, which I'll go across in my next clip. I'll finish up this update by showing you the progress on the fencing around the Signal and Telecommunications Training Centre. It's a Wills kit security fencing, and it comes in sections of 4 panels, and there's also separate gates, and you can cut them obviously to suit your dimensions and your perimeter, and they have legs on them that just drill into the baseboard and pop them in. That makes it sound very simple, but it's not. To get them lined up, you can see there I've got this slight curve going round, it's not fixed in place yet. To get them lined up requires a bit of give and take with the holes that you drill. For example, that'll be a 1.3mm hole for the peg to fit in, but don't choose a 1.3mm drill, choose something bigger, so there's a bit of play involved, because there's a bit of adjustment in the actual movement to get the thing lining up so there's no gaps between each panel. So what I've done here is I've got a curve template, if you like, and this I just took from the actual rail. I put a bit of paper over the rail and pressed it to leave a crease in the paper, and then I cut round it, and that follows the curve of the rail, and I've then taped it in place. It leaves about 55mm of a gap between the outer rail and the start of the paper. Plenty of space for my masts and everything like that to go in as well. So I'll continue all the way around following this curve until I get to the substation area, and then obviously it will change direction to fence off that area. So my tip here is, if you're putting this kind of fencing, or indeed any fencing, don't just drill the holes the exact size, because there's no give and play as to where the actual post goes in. It's alright if you're using a wire fencing like I've used at the campsite there, the spacing is not critical, but the spacing between the holes here is more of a challenge in accuracy. So I'll continue this fencing all the way around, and hopefully by the next update this site will be completed. I've also made a start to the scenic area up the back here, putting down my base materials such as scatter and coarse turfs. Then I've added some grass, patchy in places you can probably see, and it obviously doesn't adhere to the vertical faces there of the mud embankment or the earth embankment. Up the back, running along between the back board and the actual scenic part, will be a lot of bushes, so that's another reason I've not bothered putting static grass there. And as we continue down towards the flat, there's this gravel rectangular area. That will be, as you can see there, a kind of equipment cabinet line sight, and that'll have the same type of fencing going all the way around with the gate access, and there might be a small transformer or something placed in there as well. My third shout out is for Ian at AY76. He's just recently celebrated 10 years on YouTube, which is a great achievement in itself. He also has a lot of scale model scenery products on display on his layout, so if you want to check out that, the link's at the top of the screen. I recently had the privilege of meeting Ian at Model Rail Scotland, and he managed to secure me my Class 47-7 Waverley, which will be reviewed shortly, and I'd like to thank him for that and for meeting up, and I hope to meet with him again. I hope you've enjoyed that video. If you have, why not check out one of my earlier videos? Or if you'd like something from the Network South East region, click on Richard from Everard Junction. The links are on the screen.